So just picture these Americans with Ho Chi Minh going into the city. Now, people in Hanoi did not know who Ho Chi Minh was. Ho Chi Minh had never been in Hanoi ever in his life at that point. And so he set up this place on Hang Ngang Street. And no, I'm not going to expect you to remember the name of that street if you don't speak Vietnamese. And he set up a little office work area so that he could meet the local Vietnamese to kind of introduce himself. And they came in and who is this guy? And he took that time in mid to late August of 1945 to write the Vietnamese Declaration of Independence. And basically they set it up and says, we are going to declare independence. And on September 2nd, 1945, they went to Ba Ding Square, the huge square in the northwestern part of Hanoi. It's nowadays, if you go there, you'll see the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum, where you can actually go in and see Ho Chi Minh's embalmed body there. And I have many memories of Ba Ding Square myself. There was even one time I was there's always guards in front of the mausoleum, and I was on my bicycle and I ride up and I just kind of stop. I had my camcorder. I got my camcorder out and I started. This is just a cool shot. I'm going to take it. And then this soldier is looking at me and is like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, And he starts coming at me, and I just get back on my bike, and I just tear out of there. And I made it safely, don't worry. They never tracked me down. Except I have a later episode later in the season that's called Me, the Spy. Wait till you hear that one. So I sped out of there. But you can imagine this massive square. It was just absolutely packed of people, very curious to find out who this Ho Chi Minh was and what was going to be happening. And there was this elated party kind of atmosphere with this massive amounts of people from Hanoi. And right in the midst of the crowd, there are those Americans, those same Americans who traveled down with Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi. There they are, watching and listening. And listen to the opening words of the Vietnamese Declaration of Independence. And I'm just going to read this to you word for word. All right. All men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whoa, wait a minute. Haven't we heard that somewhere else before? Let me read the next two lines, and then I'll break it down for you. This immortal statement was made in the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America in 1776. In a broader sense, this means all the peoples on the earth are equal from birth. All the peoples have a right to live, to be happy, and free. There you have it. Yes, Ho Chi Minh copied Thomas Jefferson's opening to the Declaration of Independence, just to make those Americans in the crowd especially happy. And I know for you history buffs that really know your stuff, you'll realize that some of those wordings was actually squeezed in, not by Jefferson, but somebody else. But that's completely beside the point, and maybe for another podcast another day. But he did it. He said those words because what he wanted was American support. He wanted the United States at the end of the war to back freedom, to back independence, to back the people who had worked the land for thousands of years rather than the French who exploited Vietnam as their premier colony for more than 80 years. He wanted American support more than anything else. And he knew probably only American support at the end of the war could allow them to be free and independent. Now, there's a very weird fact of history that happened right during that declaration, right during that time of his speech. There was a U.S. warplane overhead just making, random patrol like they normally do. And this U.S. airplane saw this massive crowd in Hanoi, and they had no idea what was going on. So the plane, this U.S. airplane, swoops down over the crowd of Hanoi to see what's going on. Now this massive crowd looks up, they see the American plane, they see the little white star, they know it's an American plane, and what do? They roar in approval. They roar in approval. They believed at the moment that the U.S. was sanctioning what was happening in Hanoi. That the U.S. was saying, we give our blessing to Vietnam independence. Yay, what a day. What a sad, ironic piece of information that turned out to be. There were slogans in Saigon. Saigon is, now as we know, Ho Chi Minh City. There were slogans in Saigon on September 2nd and the following days as they were reporting on the Declaration of Independence. And the slogans were, "Long live the USA." Wow. Ho Chi Minh desperately wanted American support. Yes, as I said before, he was a communist. He was trained in the Soviet Union. He had many aliases. He produced much propaganda in Paris under different pseudonyms. But above all, he was a pragmatist that wanted the French to leave. That's it. And he wasn't the only one that wanted that. Franklin Delano Roosevelt wanted the same thing.